Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather not to dwell on the challenges that have tried to hold us back, but to remind ourselves of the incredible strength we each carry within. Life is full of ups and downs, but it's in how we rise after every fall that defines us. Each of us has faced setbacks, doubts, and moments that try to define us by our failures. But today, we are here to embrace a new truth. Our worth isn't defined by the past, and our future is ours to shape. Together, let's break free from the chains of fear, comparison, and regret, and step into the power of our own journey. This is a reminder that we can choose to rise, choose to grow, and choose to believe in ourselves no matter the circumstances. When you constantly compare yourself to others, you begin to lose sight of your own journey. It often starts seldom. Maybe you're scrolling through social media, seeing someone else's success, their lifestyle, their achievements, and a quiet voice inside begins to whisper, "You're not doing enough." That whisper, if left unchecked, grows louder until it becomes a narrative that plays on repeat. You begin to measure your value based on someone else's highlight reel, forgetting that what you see is often only a fraction of their reality. Comparison is a thief. It doesn't just take your peace. It steals your confidence, your joy, and your clarity. The moment you compare your behind the scenes with someone else's final product, you create an unfair standard for yourself. It's like judging your worth in a race where everyone started at different points, with different paths and different obstacles. No two lives are ever the same. Every person you compare yourself to has a different set of experiences, challenges, resources, and timing. So when you evaluate your life through their lens, you're using the wrong measure. It often leads to a cycle of self-doubt. You begin questioning your choices, your pace, even your worth. The things you once felt proud of suddenly feel small. The progress you've made starts to seem invisible because someone else appears to be further ahead. But the truth is, progress isn't always loud. Growth doesn't always look impressive from the outside. Sometimes it's quiet. It's choosing to keep going when no one's clapping. It's learning to heal, to forgive, to believe again. When you compare, you miss the beauty of your uniqueness. There is something you bring to the world that no one else can. You have a voice, a story, a perspective that is deeply needed. But if you're too busy trying to match someone else's life, you'll never fully live your own. You'll bend, twist, and reshape yourself, trying to fit into an image that was never meant for you. Every delay, every detour, every stumble, it's shaping you into someone who's not just chasing success, but someone who is becoming whole. It's easy to forget that what you see in others is often the result of years of unseen effort. You see the results, but you don't always see the sleepless nights, the self-doubt they fought, the rejections they faced, or the quiet moments where they wanted to give up. Everyone has their own battles, and just like you, they had to find their way through them. Learning to stop comparing isn't about pretending others don't inspire you. It's about shifting the focus inward. It's about asking, what can I learn from them? Instead of, why am I not like them? It's choosing to stay grounded in your own story. It's about turning down the noise around you so you can hear the truth inside you. Confidence grows not when you reach the top of someone else's mountain, but when you begin to trust the path under your own feet. And in the process, you start drifting further from your true self. What's even more dangerous is that comparison often comes dressed in admiration. You look at someone and admire their strength, their confidence, their success, and instead of letting it inspire you, it starts to make you feel small. That's when admiration turns into envy, and envy quietly tells you that you're not enough. But here's the thing, you can celebrate others without questioning yourself. You can honor someone else's success and still believe in your own potential. There's no scarcity in purpose. One person's light doesn't dim yours. Often the root of comparison is fear. Fear that you're missing out. Fear that you're not as good, as talented, as worthy. Fear that you'll never get there. But fear lies. It tells you that you're behind when in fact you're right where you need to be. Every step you take is part of your design. The words you speak to yourself shape the way you see the world, and more importantly, how you see yourself. So often we carry thoughts that were never ours to begin with. Maybe it was something someone said years ago. Maybe it was a failure that bruised your confidence. Or maybe it was just a quiet moment of doubt that turned into a permanent script. Over time, those words replay over and over again until they become beliefs. And without realizing it, you begin to live as if those beliefs are true. Negative self-talk is subtle but powerful. It sounds like, I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. No one cares what I have to say. These thoughts don't scream. They whisper. They echo in the background of your everyday life, influencing your choices, your relationships, and your ability to dream. The more you repeat them, the more they settle into your identity. It becomes easy to accept limitations that were never meant to define you. It becomes easy to shrink yourself, to hold back, to stay silent, even when something inside you is desperate to grow, to try, to be more. But what if the voice in your head started speaking differently? What if instead of tearing you down, it began building you up? The shift doesn't happen overnight. And it isn't about ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing to speak with kindness to yourself, especially when life gets hard. It's about replacing that inner critic with an inner coach, one that reminds you of who you are, even when you forget. Empowering words don't mean lying to yourself. They mean choosing truth over fear. Instead of saying, I can't do this, you say, this is hard, but I will try. Instead of, I'm not smart enough, you say, I'm learning and growing every day. These aren't just feel-good phrases. They are reminders of your strength, your resilience, your ability to rise, even when everything tells you to stay down. The mind responds to repetition. The more you say something, the more your brain starts to believe it. That's why it's so important to speak with intention. Your words have weight. Every time you affirm your worth, your courage, your purpose, you are rewriting the story you tell yourself. And little by little, that story changes your reality. You begin to show up differently. You begin to walk with more confidence, not because you have all the answers, but because you've started to believe that you're enough. It helps to notice the patterns. Pay attention to the moments when that negative voice shows up. Is it when you make a mistake? When you're trying something new? When someone criticizes you? In those moments, instead of agreeing with the voice that says you're failing, challenge it. Ask yourself, would I say this to a friend? If the answer is no, then you don't need to say it to yourself either. You deserve the same compassion you give to others. Failure is one of the most uncomfortable feelings a person can experience. It stings, sometimes deeply. It can bruise the ego, shake your confidence, and make you question your path. But it also carries within it the seeds of something powerful, growth. It's strange how something that feels like the end is often the beginning of something greater. Yet we've been taught to fear failure, to avoid it at all cost, to see it as something shameful. That fear can keep people frozen, too afraid to take a step, too worried about what others might think if they fall. The truth is, every person who's done something meaningful has failed, not once, not twice, but over and over again. The difference is not in how often they failed, but in how they responded to it. They didn't let failure define them. They used it to refine them. Each mistake became a lesson. Each setback revealed a weakness that could be strengthened. Each no brought them closer to the right yes. But that only happens when you stop seeing failure as proof that you're not good enough and start seeing it as part of the process. Failure teaches in ways that success never can. It strips away pretense and pride and forces you to look at what's real. It reveals the cracks in your foundation and invites you to build stronger next time. It humbles you, but it also gives you a chance to develop resilience. Without failure, there's no need for perseverance. Without struggle, growth remains surface level. It's only when things fall apart that we really learn what we're made of and what we're capable of becoming. The most painful moments are often the most pivotal. They might not feel like it at the time. In fact, they might feel like everything is falling apart. But if you look back at the moments that changed you, shaped you, stretched you, you'll often find they were born out of failure. Maybe it was the business that didn't work out, the job you didn't get, the relationship that ended. In the moment, it felt like loss. But over time, it became direction. It gave you clarity, depth, empathy, wisdom, qualities you might never have developed without the struggle. Failure forces you to slow down and reflect. It makes you ask the hard questions. What went wrong? What can I learn? How can I grow from this? That kind of introspection is uncomfortable but necessary. It's easy to breeze through life when things are going well. But when something breaks, you pay attention. You listen more carefully. You analyze more deeply. That's where transformation begins. Not in the success itself, but in the process that leads to it. The fear of failure can be more damaging than failure itself. It keeps people from starting, from dreaming, from reaching. But when you realize that failure isn't final, the fear loses its grip. You understand that falling down is not the same as staying down. And when the voice of doubt gets loud, sometimes you have to speak even louder. Say it out loud if you have to. I am doing my best. I have overcome before. I can overcome again. I am allowed to grow, to stumble, and to rise. These declarations may feel awkward at first, especially if you've spent years believing the opposite. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, those empowering words become your new default. And with them, confidence begins to return, not because life is perfect, but because you've decided to treat yourself with the dignity you've always deserved. When you change the words, you change the atmosphere within you. The way you talk to yourself can either be a cage or a key. You get to choose. You get to decide what story to tell. And the beautiful thing is, it's never too late to start speaking to yourself with love, grace, and strength. That you can rise. And when you do, you'll be stronger for it. You'll have scars maybe, but those scars won't be symbols of weakness. They'll be proof that you dared, that you tried, that you grew. Growth is messy. It's not a straight line. It comes with false starts, dead ends, and moments of doubt. But those moments are not wasted. They are the very fabric of progress. No masterpiece is created without mistakes along the way. No great achievement exists without moments of doubt and despair. The path to anything worth having is filled with moments that will test your patience, your faith, your perseverance. When it carries you, you're trapped by it, and the longer you stay trapped, the more you miss what's ahead. Pain can be a powerful teacher. It shows you where you need healing, where you need boundaries, where you've outgrown who you once were. But after the lesson is learned, the pain is meant to be released. Holding onto it won't protect you. It will only prevent you from truly living. There's no peace in constantly rehearsing what you can't go back and change. You can't build a new future if your hands are still clinging to what fell apart. Sometimes it's not even the events of the past that hold us back. It's the story we tell ourselves about them. I was abandoned, so I must not be worth loving. I failed, so I must not be capable. I was hurt, so I need to protect myself from everything. These narratives become deeply rooted, and without realizing it, they start to run the show. They create fear where there should be hope. The past becomes not just a memory, but a mindset. And when that happens, it quietly dictates how we show up in the world. It shapes our choices, limits our beliefs, and builds walls around our potential. Letting go of the past isn't about pretending it didn't happen. It's not about forgetting the pain or denying the lessons. It's about choosing not to let that pain control your steps anymore. It's the difference between carrying your past and being carried by it. When you carry your past, you take the wisdom with you. Choosing to embrace failure doesn't mean you enjoy it. It means you no longer fear it. It means you recognize that failure isn't something to be ashamed of. It's something to be used. It becomes a teacher, a guide, a stepping stone. When you stop running from it, you start learning from it. And in that learning, you find the courage to try again. Not because you know you'll never fail again, but because you now know that failure isn't the end. It's just one chapter in a much bigger, much more beautiful story. Trying to live for everyone's approval is like chasing a shadow. No matter how fast you run or how hard you try, it keeps slipping out of reach. And yet so many people exhaust themselves trying to please everyone, adjusting how they speak, what they wear, what they post, even what they dream about, just to fit into expectations that were never theirs to begin with. It's a constant weight, a quiet pressure that follows you everywhere, whispering that you're not enough unless someone else says you are. Approval is a moving target. What makes one person happy might disappoint another. You can be kind and still be misunderstood. You can be honest and still be judged. You can give your best and still fall short in someone else's eyes. Trying to satisfy every voice around you will leave you feeling empty because it asks you to trade authenticity for acceptance. And the truth is, the more you rely on others to validate you, the more disconnected you become from your own voice, your own needs, your own path. This need to be liked often begins early. Maybe it was the desire to make your parents proud. Maybe it was wanting to fit in with friends. Maybe it came from a moment when you were rejected or criticized, and something inside you decided it was safer to play small, to blend in, to be who others wanted you to be. Over time, this becomes a habit. You start making choices not based on what feels right, but on what will get the most approval, the least resistance, the loudest applause. But there's a cost. When you live for approval, you often silence your truth. You say yes when you want to say no. You follow paths that don't align with your heart. You pretend to be fine when you're hurting inside. And eventually you wake up one day feeling like a stranger to yourself, wondering how you got so far from who you really are. That's because approval can give you temporary comfort, but it can't give you lasting peace. There's a freedom that comes when you let go of needing everyone's approval. It's not about becoming arrogant or refusing to listen to others. It's about understanding that your worth isn't up for debate. It's about realizing that not everyone is meant to understand your journey. And that's okay. Some people will cheer for you, some won't. Some will get you, others won't. That's not a reflection of your value. It's simply a part of life. You begin to reclaim your power when you stop living for applause and start living for alignment. Alignment with your purpose, your truth, your peace. That's where confidence begins. Not in how others see you, but in how you see yourself when no one's watching. The more you trust your own voice, the less you need outside validation. You begin to make decisions with clarity, not anxiety. You speak with intention, not insecurity. You act with courage, not fear of rejection. Letting go of approval doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop sacrificing your soul for their approval. You can still love others deeply without letting their opinions define you. You can be open to feedback without letting it shake your identity. You can walk with humility and still stand firmly in who you are. People will always have opinions. Some will admire you, others will misunderstand you. But the real question is, what do you believe about yourself? Are you proud of who you're becoming? Are you living in a way that's true to your values, your vision, your heart? Because at the end of the day, it's not about how many people clap when you speak or smile when you succeed. It's about being able to look in the mirror and know you showed up honestly, bravely, and fully as yourself. Approval might feel good in the moment, but authenticity will sustain you in the long run. When you stop needing everyone to agree with you, you start giving yourself permission to grow, to rise, to live freely. And that's where your true strength begins to shine. The past has a way of clinging to the edges of our present, like a shadow that never fully fades. It carries with it memories, mistakes, regrets, and sometimes pain that lingers far longer than we ever expected. We replay moments, words, and decisions, wishing we had said something different, done something sooner, or simply walked away. The weight of it all can feel heavy, almost suffocating. But no matter how much we revisit it, the past doesn't change. It remains fixed. What can change, however, is how we carry it. Some people live in the past without even realizing it. They go through the motions of today while their heart is still tied to yesterday. They let one heartbreak define their view of love. They let one failure convince them they're not capable. They let one betrayal convince them no one can be trusted. They create walls where there should be doors. But you are not your past. You are not the worst thing that ever happened to you. You are not the sum of your mistakes, your losses, or your disappointments. You are someone who has lived through things that were hard, and you're still here. That in itself says something about your strength. Your past may have shaped you, but it does not have the right to define you unless you give it that power. Moving forward means giving yourself permission to heal. It means recognizing that your future deserves your focus more than your past deserves your attention. It means choosing to build, to try, to trust. Again, even if it feels scary, it's not about waiting until everything is perfect or until you feel fully ready. It's about taking one step at a time, even with the scar, even with the memory, even with the fear. Releasing the past doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your future to stop letting your history hold it hostage. Happy to join you on the coaster today. We're going to truly talk about how to harness your past to grow today. You may have tried to break you. Fear may have tried to silence you, and failure may have knocked you down more than once, but none of it has the final word. You are still here, still breathing, still capable of rising. True confidence isn't about never falling. It's about choosing to rise, speak, and walk forward even when the weight of your past, the opinions of others, or the sting of mistakes try to hold you back. It's the moment you decide to stop reopening wounds and start creating space for something new, you begin to see the beauty in what's ahead rather than the brokenness of what's behind. And slowly you start to breathe again. Not just survive, but truly live. Because freedom isn't just about what you escape from, it's about what you choose to move toward. And sometimes the first step toward a new beginning is simply letting go of what no longer serves your soul. Let go. Speak life over yourself. Embrace growth and walk your journey with purpose. Because the moment you stop waiting for permission to be whole is the moment you truly begin to live. Thank you for listening. May strength, courage, and hope guide you every step of the way.